Today we're going to have a look at setting up projects in Nucoda and Phoenix, and we'll also have a brief look at the preferences that are available for the software. First of all, when you load Nucoda or Phoenix, if you want to know what version you're running, if you hit the About box, you'll see the version run here. I'm going to close that up, and we're going to have a quick look at the project setup screen. Now we have a blank screen over here, no project set up, and looking from the left all the way to the right, we can see a place here where we could add a project name. So I'm going to call this project name test. And down here we have an output format section. The way that Nucoda works is that we can have multiple output formats. So in this case, I've got 1920 by 1080p at 25 frames. I can add a new one, and I can go and make a PAL 16 by 9 output format. And you'll see that we update the aspect and the sizes. I'm going to change my bitrate to 10-bit. I also have the choice of 16 and half float. Over here I can choose between RGB and RGB with alpha. I've got a whole list of settings I can use here for my project format, for frame rates including 5994, 2997, drop frame and non-drop. We have options here to set fields and frames. The cache output button will automatically cache any material if you are using the master output or the master layer or pan and scan. Otherwise that will be done in real time on the GPU. The convert button is really important if you're using different sized output formats. So for example, my source material is going to be HD, and I'm going to tell it not to convert anything, but for PAL I might set this to auto fit, in which case when I switch to PAL it would automatically fit the size to my PAL project. Down here I have the setup for CMS, which is the color management system, and this could be either Nucoda or Kodak or ACES. So for example, in ACES I would have to set a half project. My default color scaling would be ACES, and I would go and set a ODT or output device transform, be it Dolby or Rec 709. If you're just using a normal LUT, you can go and set this up and choose any LUT that we have available, or you can actually go and browse from any available LUTs that you might have. Now, something to remember when setting up a LUT, I'm going to set up a log to CGR LUT over here. I'm going to change my setup back to CGR. Is that on the main output format, change those back. On the main output format, when I set up my LUT, and I'm going to set that, like I said, log to CGR, I cannot burn that LUT in. This LUT is purely for viewing. However, on any subsequent output formats, I can go and set that to apply. In this case, it says CMS over here, which means this LUT will be burnt into the output. So this means I can use a LUT either as a viewing LUT or as something that will actually transform my image. Now I can go and rename these output formats so that I know what I'm doing over here when they are selected. And once I've done that, I can go and look at the rest of my settings. If I want to have cache per project, I can do that. If I want to change that somewhere else. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to hit new project, which is going to create this project for me. So I can now double click on this project and go into Nucoda and start working. Other options that are available, if I have old projects, I can attach and detach them. So for example, I can detach this project if I feel I have too many, and we're going to attach and selecting it, I can attach the project again. You'll get asked whether you want to remove any image caches, and you can choose yes or no. We don't have any yes, so I'm just going to say yes. I can go and attach other projects as well if I wish, like that. We have an option to recover projects in Nucoda and Phoenix. So a project that has been here for a while, like this, would actually have full backups, which are the ones with an asterisk, as well as incremental backups. And I can go to any one of these backups and ask to recover that. It will zip the current project and will actually unzip the backup in its place. I can delete projects and I can apply settings. So for example, if I want to rename this project to from test to test 5, and then just hit apply settings, everything will change accordingly. We can go and have a look at the folders at Windows level, and you will notice that the project has been created automatically in the folder. Right, moving on to the preferences over here. These preferences all are in the general press file as well. The reason why they're here is because they're ones that you might want to change more often. So these preferences here, like composition, store output format, for example, that will remember. If you have a separate composition for each output format, it will remember which output format was attached to that composition. The other preferences are quite self-explanatory. So when you open Nucoda, for example, the layer focus will be on the base layer in the balance tool. You can choose which tracker you want to use. On the conform side, you can decide how you would like your automatic folders to be set up. On the color side, trackball orientation and standard setups for color scaling. In memories, something I always use, which is display ungraded as grayscale. This means in your events view, if you have any ungraded material, they'll show up as gray. And we can also choose how thumbnails are generated, whether that would be from the first frame, the last frame, the middle frame of shots. We have our stills export setting over here, as well as our comparison modes, which you can go and turn on, depending on which ones you like. Video monitoring, if you have a video card, this is where you would enable it. This is where you would enable GPU readback, which is what will allow you to view the output of your cursor on your SDI screen, if you have that. Rendering, the DPX export depth default when you hit export, as well as our render thread settings and our image memory as well. And then project storage, simply some information on when backups are made and the autosave interval. We also have an option here to open projects in safe mode, that in case you have a project that crashes when you open, if you turn that on, we will open the project without loading the composition that could possibly be causing any crashes. So it is quite straightforward. I would say that one rule that I try and stick to is that I remain in the same frame rate between output formats, because it could get confusing if you don't do that. But at this point, we'll be able to double click on our project and launch into Nucoda. I'll do a video pretty soon on the library and the timeline, and until then, we hope you have fun.